Buddhist. I'm Anthony Elmore, President and Founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association. We at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association practice the Buddhist teachings as taught by the 13th century Japanese Buddhist sage Nichiren Shonin. Nichiren Shoshu taught that the highest teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni of India was that of the Lotus Sutra. In fact, Nichiren Shoshu mentions the word Lotus Sutra over 3,000 times in what is called the Go-Sho. The way that we teach Buddhism and the way that we learn the teachings of Nichiren is through the Go-Sho. The Go-Sho are letters that Nichiren wrote to his disciples to teach them the ways of Buddhism. And we learn our teachings through studying of the Go-Sho. Now, one of the things that we want to make clear, that we are the voice of the black people, or we are the African American voice of Buddhism, and that at the time of this posting, we have over 320 videos where you could learn about the Buddhist teachings. We are clearly the black voice when it comes to Buddhism. In fact, our website, the Proud Black Buddhist website, is proudblackbuddhist.org. We have the oldest and the first black Buddhist website in the world. When you Google the word Black Buddhist, we come up first because we have been around since 1998 and we have been a voice of black Buddhists. Now, our topic today, and we have an interesting and exciting Buddhist lecture for you today. It's called Beyonce, Black, and Buddhism. Now, what does it mean when you say Beyonce, Black, and Buddhism? The reason that we came up with this subject is because the way that we teach Buddhism in relationship to the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra is the highest of the Buddhist teachings, and it was Nichiren Shoshu who teaches us that Shakyamuni taught that we should only practice the Lotus Sutra and none of the other Buddhist sutras, because the Lotus Sutra is the highest of the Buddhist teachings. Now, the reason that we bring a subject like Beyonce, Black, and Buddhism is because we teach Buddhism according to the Lotus Sutra, or we teach Buddhism in relationship to everyday life. See, one of the things that we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association do is that we challenge the Asian idea of Buddhism. See, when you look at Buddhism, you think that Buddhism came from Asia. Buddhism didn't come from Asia. Buddhism came from India, and the inheritors or the originators of Buddhism were black people in India called the Nagas. Now, in relationship to the Lotus Sutra did not get into Japan until 1400 years after the death of the Buddha. However, the Lotus Sutra was in Africa by about 1400 years before it ever got to Japan. Now, what happened was our Japanese teachers or brothers and sisters, they teach in Buddhism that extricate all black history, culture, and language from the Buddhist teachings. And what you do not find in Buddhism, and there's a statement that we all choose to be self-evident, there are no Buddhist scholars or black Buddhist scholars in this world, or you got very few black Buddhist scholars. That is because in the 1st century AD, a new Buddhism was born called Mahayana Buddhism. That is the time that Buddhism was separated by race, culture, and language. And that is the time when they extricated all black history and culture from Buddhism, and a new language came about that anybody they didn't know anything about called Sanskrit. It's a new artificial language, and that's how they talk to Buddhism. But let's get into our lecture. Again, our lecture is called Beyonce, Black, and Buddhism. Now, one of the things we want to teach you that Buddhism is not some Asian on a mountain meditating, or a bunch of Asians in a robe with a bald head or no hair sitting back in a meditative position. That is Asian culture, but that is not Buddhism, or that is not the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. Now, in the teachings of Nichiren Shonin, there is a Gosho called, and the Gosho again are letters that Nichiren Shonin write. Now the word Nichiren means sun lotus, and Shonin means priest. Now, there's a Gosho called the Gift of Rice. And in the Gift of Rice, Nichiren explains how the Lotus Sutra is different from that of traditional Buddhism. And explains this. He says what? He says, in the Gosho, he says that the true path lies in affairs of this world. And he quotes what is called the Golden Light Sutra. This is by Shakyamuni. It says, quote, to have a profound knowledge of this world is itself Buddhism. Then he goes on further. He says the Nirvana Sutra. Now, Nirvana Sutra was the last sutra of the Buddha Shakyamuni, or the last writings of the Buddha Shakyamuni. That's the Nirvana Sutra. And it says, quote, all of the non-Buddhist scriptures and writings in society are themselves Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings, unquote. Then he goes on further. He says, when the great teacher Milo compared these passages with the one from the 6th volume of the Lotus Sutra that reads, quote, no worldly affairs or work are ever contrary to the true reality, unquote. He goes on further. He revealed their meaning and pointed out that although the first 2 sutras are profound, since their meaning is still shallow and fails to approach that of the Lotus Sutra. And he goes on further. He says, they relate to secular matters in terms of Buddhism, whereas the Lotus Sutra explains that in the end, secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism, unquote. You see, the true and correct teachings of Buddhism is only that of the Lotus Sutra. So when we get into a subject like Beyonce, Beyonce is a secular matter, but it is the Buddha Shakyamuni who teaches us that secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism. And there's another thing that the Buddha taught. There's a precept that Shakyamuni Buddha taught. The precept is called practicing Buddhism according to the local laws and customs of a land. Now, we who are proud black Buddhists, it doesn't mean that we're racist. It means that we are cultural. And there is in America a black community. We were segregated. When we came to America, they made our ancestors slaves. They segregated us. And even to this day, they segregate us economically, educationally, and there is a culture. Now, in order for Buddhism to be able to be taught or integrated in the black community, the precept of the Buddha Shakyamuni teaches us that Buddhism should be taught according to the local laws and customs of the land. I want you to look at a priest. Now, my last priest when I was a member of Nichiren Shoshu was a guy by the name of Shinji Iwaki. This Japanese priest, or through the years of my Buddhist practice, these Japanese priests would come into the black community and they didn't know anything about the black community. So how are you going to teach us Buddhism and you don't know anything about the people, you don't know anything about the culture, you don't know anything about the language? When you bring your language and you bring your culture to us and you trying to teach us Buddhism, not in a way that's inclusive of our culture, language, and history, that is not Buddhism. That is called cultural imperialism. And we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association reject cultural imperialism because another name for cultural imperialism is racism. Now, the Lotus Sutra, the highest of the Buddhist teachings, explains that secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism. Now, the most watched program in America is the Super Bowl. The most controversial topic regarding the Super Bowl, or the most talked about subject of Super Bowl 2016, was not the Super Bowl, but the controversy was the fact that Beyonce, who performed at the Super Bowl, integrated her culture, language into her performance. Now, we live in a society that extricate black history, culture, and language. It is not appropriate based on white racist teachings for black people to incorporate or to be unapologetically black. Now, this society or this type of thinking that only white is right and black get back, that is a racist kind of thinking that is based on delusion, because racism is a social construct that was created by people who believe that their skin is, because of the lightness of their skin, one person thinks they're better than another person, and they call this racism. That is a delusion. That is a delusion. Now, when it comes to skin color, most white people, rather, they believe that light is better, and they live in a world of delusion and domination. Now, our cultural domination. Now, this is changing, but right now in America, it is a challenge to be black in America because many whites do not accept the fact that black people can be proud, they can be black, and they don't have to be white, and they don't have to apologize for being black. Now, in regards to the word black, I want you to first of all listen to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. See, most people think that Martin Luther King, when he talked about peace and he talked, they don't tell you the full story of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King was a very strong and proud black man. Now, he didn't call himself that. He didn't project that. But however, it was Dr. Martin Luther King who taught us to be black and proud. Now, as we get into this lecture, and the lecture again is called Beyonce, Black in Buddhism, I want you to understand that Dr. Martin Luther King would support the proud black Buddhists, and Dr. Martin Luther King supports the idea of being black and proud. Let's listen to Dr. Martin Luther King and come back and finish this lecture. Dr. Martin Luther King tells you to be black and proud. Let's listen to Dr. King.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. And as I said to a group last night, Nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennysonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. It's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful.
You heard Dr. Martin Luther King. There is nothing wrong with being black and proud. Many white people are upset because Beyonce is black and she expressed her black culture. For example, a Jewish person can talk about the Holocaust and the bad and evil things that was done against Jewish people by the Germans. But when a black person dares to speak up, dares to stand strong and dares to stand proud, that black person is going to not only be censored, such a person, and our history has showed us, will get killed, like Dr. Martin Luther King got killed, a peaceful man. A Malcolm X, a peaceful man, got killed. Now, if you want to talk about Buddhism, Buddhism, again, is not some Asian sitting on a mountain meditating. Buddhism is Beyonce performing majestically, proudly, and unapologetically black. The problem with Beyonce is not the fact that she is black. The problem with Beyonce is the fact that she performed unapologetically black. In regards to being black in America, many white people are okay with black people being black as long as they apologize to white people for being black. See, white people, or racist white people, want black people to apologize for being black. Let me cite you an example. Now, CNN did a study, and they did a study that when black people go for jobs, if a guy who is checking your resume look at a name and you got a name that sounds like a black name, you are more than likely not going to get hired on that job because they discriminate against black people. And a black person with a black name is more than likely not going to be hired just because of your name. This is a reality that we as black people must face. We live in a culture where black people are expected to apologize for being black. Now, when Beyonce decided to express her black culture, white people literally have gone crazy. Now, let's explain this from the standpoint of Buddhism. Now, please understand that there are Buddhist teachings prior to the Lotus Sutra. However, the Lotus Sutra is the highest of the Buddha's teachings. The Lotus Sutra deals with secular matters. Beyonce is Buddhism because Buddhist teachings is understanding life and the universe. Now, when it comes to the teaching Buddhism in relationship to the Lotus Sutra, the essence of the Lotus Sutra is the title. Now, the title of the Lotus Sutra is called Myoho Renge Kyo. Now, the word Myo means incomprehensible. It also means correct. It also means to open. Or it means it is the key to the treasure chest of knowledge. Myo is also a cause. Myo. Now, the word Ho means that in Buddhism there are 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence. This is Ho. Now, let me explain this in relationship to Beyonce. See, Beyonce is the manifestation of the cause and effect phenomena. Now, on Sunday, February the 7th, 2016, Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl. Now, in relationship to the Lotus Sutra, this is Myoho, or mystic law. The law is the 3,000 worlds, or Ho. Now, the Lotus Sutra teaches us that all phenomena manifest 10 aspects. That's how cause and effect work. It works in relationship to 10 aspects. The first of the 10 aspects is what? Appearance. We see Beyonce at the Super Bowl. The second one is called nature. We saw the nature of a performance. And the third one is entity. See, when you have an appearance and you have a nature, it creates an entity. An entity leads to a power. And power leads to an influence. Now, influence happens because of an inherent cause. An inherent cause happens because of number 7, a relationship. Now, the relationship happens because of a latent effect. The latent effect is an effect that has not happened, but it did happen because of latent effect. Now, the latent effect leads to what is called a manifest effect, and a manifest effect is brought about because the law of cause and effect have the consistency of the 10 aspects from the beginning to the end. Now, in regards to Buddhism, there are 10 aspects. The 10 aspects are the result of the 10 worlds. In relationship to Beyonce, in your relationship to phenomena, the phenomena affected us according to our karma or relationship to Beyonce. See, the phenomena of the 10 worlds or the relationship of the 10 aspects affect us different. See, the Lotus Sutra reads, quote, "Only Buddhas know the true aspect of all phenomena." The Super Bowl, for example, had 112 million viewers. But for the halftime show, Beyonce garnered 115 million viewers. This is in other words, that is a power. That is the largest TV audience in America. The Super Bowl. And even stronger than the Super Bowl is that a Beyonce can garner 3 million more people to even watch her than watching the football game. Now, the Lotus Sutra teaches us that, quote, "all phenomena manifest its true entity." or the 10 aspects, or a cause and effect phenomena. Now, let's begin to explain Beyonce in the terms of the law of cause and effect phenomena. Now, in 1964, we had in America the 1964 Civil Rights Act, where Dr. Martin Luther King got legislation passed where black people could become full and equal citizens in America based on federal law, because prior to 1964, America was a legally separate and racist country where we did not all have separate or have equal rights under the Constitution of the United States, and they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, in 1964, we became full citizens. Now, I was only 11 years old in 1964. I had to sit on the back of the bus. We had to go to the back door or the movie theater. There was legal discrimination in America. Now, in 1964, a lot of things happened. Now, one thing that happened in 1964 as it relates to Beyonce, see, Beyonce has a relationship to black people. Now, one of the things that happened in 1964, a young man by the name of Cassius Marcellus Clay became the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. It was Cassius Marcellus Clay who changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and he stood proud. He influenced other people. One of the greatest influences in my life was the Muhammad Ali, because when he won that title in 1964, he stopped bowing down to white people. He was trained. Now understand that Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay, was converted to the Islamic religion by the great black leader Malcolm X. Malcolm X introduced Muhammad Ali to the Islamic religion, and Malcolm X was Muhammad Ali's leader. Now, also in 1964, there was a young man who was very close friends to Muhammad Ali. This young man helped to influence and change the world as well. This young man could sing, and he was great friends. When Muhammad Ali won the title, he said, "Let that man into the ring," and Muhammad Ali hugged this guy. Now, this guy who was friends to Muhammad Ali, this guy changed the course of music, or the way we sing music. He went to a hotel, and they would not let this young man in the hotel, and this young man recorded a song that became the national anthem of the black civil rights movement. That young man, who was great friends to Muhammad Ali, his name was Sam Cooke. And when Sam Cooke recorded a song, "A Change Gonna Come," and when Barack Obama got elected president, or inaugurated as president in 2009, Barack Obama played the song, "A Change Gonna Come." Now, that is an interrelationship between phenomena and causes, or how things happen. Now, we have to look at Beyonce from the Buddhist standpoint of the Lotus Sutra, in that there's a relationship to cause and effect. Now, in 1968, a young man, after Dr. Martin Luther King died, helped to influence and shape America, and his name was James Brown. James Brown stopped the riots after Dr. Martin Luther King was killed, and what happened to James Brown was, his manager said, "You have been screwed." And James said, I don't understand. I did a good thing. I stopped the ride. They told James Brown, and you can see that in the James Brown movie, they said, if you can stop a ride, you can start one. So the whites had a problem with any black man who had the power to lift up other black people, because there is a culture in our society that keeps a black people in a subordinate position. Now, in 1968, when Dr. Martin Luther King was killed, black folk didn't know what to do. And James Brown wrote a song, and the song was called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Now, the reason that we bring this phenomenon up is because the Lotus Sutra teaches us that only Buddhas know the true entity of all phenomena. Now, when you go back into history and you go back into the culture and you look at the law of cause and effect, now, on September the 4th, 1981, a young Beyonce was born. But she was not born until 1981. She was a young lady. Now, when we come to 2016, and you have a young lady who performed at the Super Bowl. Now, it says, the Gosho reads, only Buddhas know the true entity of all phenomena. What happened to Beyonce? Did she suddenly become black? What happened? When you have to look at the law of cause and effect, Beyonce had something to reach upon. If she studies, and apparently she does, or apparently she's influenced by study, that she understood her history, she understood her culture, and more importantly, she understood her role not only as a singer, but she understood the role and responsibility that she has as a leader or spokesperson. And it was Beyonce that stood up in the Super Bowl, and she used her celebrity status to make black history, culture, and language inclusive of our American society. And she stands up and say, it is okay to be black. Now, where did this come from? It comes from what? A relationship. Beyonce is black, but at the same time, obviously, she has a history and a culture. Because when you look at the Super Bowl performance, you would see that she made an X. The X represents Malcolm X. Now, she had to be aware of the history of Malcolm X. So they did the Malcolm X formation. Prior to the Super Bowl, Beyonce recorded a song called Formation. Now, when you look at the formation and you look at the people, now, it was the Carolina Panthers that concurrently or so happened that it was the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl, but it was also the 50th anniversary of the Black Panthers. Now, Beyonce, who had artistic control over her act, she decided to be who she was by integrating her culture, her history, her language, her cultural expression. See, Beyonce understands the value of being what is called a cultural ambassador. She is an ambassador to black people. She is an ambassador to black culture because she stood up unapologetically to embrace her black culture in her art. She didn't do anything to hurt anybody. She didn't get out there and say black power, but she expressed it. And when she expressed her culture, and she expressed her history, and when she unapologetically expresses her culture, then she understood very well what come with that, because the power structure was going to go against her. Now, a day before the Super Bowl happened, Beyonce released a song called Formation. Now, what I want you to understand, that in the song Formation, Beyonce took the responsibility to challenge the white power structure and domination against black people. Now, in the lyrics of the song Formation, it says, quote, "My daddy, Alabama, mama, Louisiana. You mix that Negro with that Creole, make a Texas Bama. I like my baby hair, H-E-I-R. She talks about her baby, Ivy Blue, with baby hair and afros. I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils." See, Beyonce challenged the fact that unlike Michael Jackson, who was born a generation ahead of her, Michael Jackson had to compromise by being accepted by the white. He made the decision to change his hair. He made the decision to change his nose. He made the decision to lighten his skin. Now, what Beyonce did, Beyonce made the decision that being black, being proud was okay, and she was not going to let her little girl grow up thinking that her hair has to be like a white woman's hair, or her daughter has to have weave like she has to have weave. But she says the afros and the nostrils or the nose of my daughter is going to be okay, and she is fighting for a change in our culture. Now, the Lotus Sutra teaches us that life in the universe is based on the law of cause and effect. Now, look at the case of Bill Cosby, or any black man who stands up for a black cause. That black man is going to be eviscerated. Through time, it was the black man who has been destroyed. The system put black women on top, and they were non-threatening to white people or the system. Now, a new phenomenon in America happened called Queen Bee, and she is black, and Buddhism explains it. Now, in the words of the Lotus Sutra, it explains all phenomena manifest its true entity. Now, the 15th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the Bodhisattvas emerge out of the earth. Now, we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association teach that Beyonce is a Bodhisattva of the earth. Now, a Bodhisattva of the earth is not known by his teaching Buddhism, but a Bodhisattva of the earth is known by their efforts to change the world. See, we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association teach that a Bodhisattva is known not by the Buddhist organization or sect that he belongs to, but a Bodhisattva of the earth is known by his or her actions as a human being to change the world. You see, in 1955, a woman in Alabama by the name of Rosa Parks emerged as one who carried the banner of civil rights. Rosa Parks is known as the mother of civil rights. While she is the mother of civil rights movement, she became a Buddhist before she died. Rosa Parks left us a legacy of how to be proud, black, and Buddhist. Now, Black History Month, February 7, 2016, Beyonce emerged not only as one who carries the banner of civil rights, Beyonce emerged as a model of how to be a black Buddhist in America. We at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association teach that the Lotus Sutra teaches us not how to be a Buddhist, but the Lotus Sutra teaches us how to be a Bodhisattva. See, while Beyonce may not be a Buddhist, we know by her actions she is a Bodhisattva. Beyonce promotes the message that it's not only okay to be black and proud. Beyonce promotes the message that it's okay to be unapologetically black. See, we at the Proud Black Buddhist Association introduced a Buddhist lecture called How to Be a Black Buddhist in America. One of the things that we promote is we black or African Americans develop a strong sense of cultural pride in history by studying our black history. Now, the Go Show reads, quote, "Only Buddhas know the true entity of all phenomena. All one has to do is look at the actions of Beyonce and learn that Beyonce practices what we call in Buddhism Namu. Namu is a Pali word that most know as devotion. The word Namu means to awaken. That is Buddhism. See, Namu means to awaken, and Beyonce is awakened to her history, to her culture. Namu also means to be amazed. Now, in regards to racism and cultural imperialism, Beyonce is not only awakened in that Beyonce, in the Formation song, the lyrics clearly read, "My daddy, Alabama, mama, Louisiana, you mix that Negro with Creole, make a Texas mama. I like my baby hair with baby hair and afros. I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils." See, Beyonce in this song is talking about social change, and social change is the way of the Bodhisattva. Now, the Lotus Sutra teaches us of the cause and effect of Myoho. Myo means correct. Ho means the 10 aspects. Now, let us look at the 10 aspects of Beyonce's black culture expression at Super Bowl 50. Number one is appearance. There was the Carolina Panthers, in line with the fact that a Panther is known as a Black Panther, fast, strong, independent, and regal. The issue was number two, nature, in that white people do not want black people to associate historically with the Black Panthers, a group that was formed in 1966. The third one is entity. The entity, the appearance and nature created an entity. The entity emerged as black women expressing their art of dance inclusive of an African American culture expression of inclusion. The entity resulted in what is called a power. What you have was an expression of black power, or individuals who are unapologetically black. When one is unapologetically black, it creates what? An influence. Beyonce is influencing black people to be proud, and you have whites who protest like former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and other whites who resent black culture, inclusion, and expression. What happened is inherently that you got an appearance, a nature, an entity, a power, an influence, which comes to an inherent cause. The inherent cause, in terms, have a relationship. Now, the relationship that Beyonce has with the black culture, and the relationship with most whites have with the black culture, the black, like Beyonce, have a positive relationship, and a white, like a Rudy Giuliani, has a negative, and you're going to get a fight. Now, Giuliani had a relationship to white, which comes to number 8, which is a latent effect. What both Giuliani and Beyonce, words, thoughts, and action and deeds create an effect that will happen in the future. That's a latent effect. But number 9 happened, you got a manifest effect. Is what happened on February 7, 2016 leads us today, whereas the past, the present, and the future exist in a momentary state of existence. See, Buddhism teaches us the past, present, and future exist in a momentary state of existence, and there are 3,000 worlds in a momentary state. The momentary state of existence is explained in the title of the Lotus Sutra. Now, the title of the Lotus Sutra is Myoho Renge Kyo. Now, Ren means lotus flower, or the quality, and Ge means the function, or the effects. Now, Kyo means the Buddhist teachings. Now, Namu means to awaken. Now, we have explained Beyonce, we've explained black, and we've explained Buddhism. We at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association mention Buddhism. We only mean the Lotus Sutra, of which the essence of the Lotus Sutra is the title. The title of the Lotus Sutra is Myoho Renge Kyo. Beyonce, or any manifestation in the universe, is only Myoho Renge Kyo. Now, in regards to the Proud Black Buddhist World Association, we have an association with Beyonce in that we both are unapologetically black. We teach a Buddhism of black culture, history, and inclusion. We also teach that in relationship to black Buddhists, Beyonce is a proud black Buddhist model. We teach our members that Beyonce is a Buddhist model. The model of a proud black Buddhist is not that of a Buddhist, but the model of a proud black Buddhist is that of a Bodhisattva. A Bodhisattva is one who dedicates their lives to helping others via social change. What happened in New Orleans, or police killing unarmed black men, or our system of discrimination, Beyonce is using her celebrity to fight for social change. No child has to be like a Michael Jackson, the late Michael Jackson who we love, should not have to have surgery, a dangerous surgery, to change their nose or to make themselves look white. We fight to be who we are, to be ourselves. That is the dignity, and that's what it means to be proud black Buddhists. Now, look at the black women or the Beyonce dancers. These women are unapologetically black. One hair has not to be blonde or straight to be okay. Whoever you are, you should be okay. Now, Nichiren writes in the Go Show. Now this Go Show is called The Entity of the Mystic Law, and Nichiren writes, quote, "If the crystal is placed in the sun's rays, it will attract them and produce fire. But if it is placed in the moon's rays, it will produce water. The crystal is a single entity, but the effects of it produces differ according to the circumstances." He goes on further. "The mystic principle of the true aspect of reality is like this. The mystic principle of the true aspect of reality is one. But if it encounters evil influences, it will produce delusion. While if it encounters good influences, it will manifest enlightenment. Enlightenment means enlightenment to the essential nature of phenomena, and delusion is ignorance of it." Unquote. See, Buddhism, or the Lotus Sutra, teaches us that when we encounter good influences, we manifest enlightenment, or we understand phenomena. Understanding your history, culture, is a good influence, and based on the Lotus Sutra, the way to attain enlightenment. We've shared some good stuff with you about Beyonce, Black, and Buddhism. I'm Anthony Elmore, President and founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association, bringing to you the new Buddha way. Thank you very much. I never heard of a winter that did not turn into spring. With the Lotus teachings, you can overcome anything. I bring a message to you. It's about the greatness of the Lotus Sutra. I never heard of a winter that did not turn into spring. With the Lotus teachings, you can overcome anything. I bring a message to you. It's about the greatness of the Lotus Sutra. I've never heard of winter that didn't turn into spring. With the Lotus teachings, you can attain any dream. There's one thing that I want you to know. To learn the sutra, you must study the Go Show. It means I never heard of winter, then I turn into spring. This is the song that I sing. The Lotus Sutra will bring benefits to you. You'll be able to help others change their life too. I've never heard of winter and a turn in the spring. The benefits are measurable that the Lotus Sutra brings. When you find your life and there's nothing left, the Lotus will help you to bring out your best self. I've never heard of winter that did not turn into spring. With the Lotus teachings, you can overcome anything. And there's one thing I want you to know. Please study Nichiren Go Show. I've never heard of winter that did not turn into spring. It is the faith in the sutra that I sing. I never heard of a winter that didn't turn into spring. With the Lotus teachings, you can overcome anything. And I bring my message to you. Have faith. Ringeto is the way to let your karma go. Nam yo Ringeto is the way to let your karma go. Nam yo Ringeto is the way to let your karma go. Nam yo Ringeto is the way to let your karma go. Nam yo